Here comes Maverick Vinales. Now, at the moment, it looks like he's gone for the medium Michelin tyres. Of course, there's plenty of time for him to make some changes on the grid, but he comes to pole position. He was on pole position 2 years ago on his factory Yamaha debut. We know what happened that night. He was able to take the victory, although his last win from a pole position was that very same year when he had that outstanding start to 2017, victorious in 3 of the first 5 races, but no win from pole for Maverick Vinales since Le Mans in 2017.
His confidence is high. The Yamaha looks a much better version than it was last year, but do we agree, Matt, that for him to win, he's going to have to get a bit of a gap over these guys, because they're down on top speed, aren't they?
The only thing I think Maverick's worried about, Steve, is the top speed on the straight. Yeah, they're 10 to 12 k's down. I think in qualifying last night, there was something like 16 k's difference between the Ducati and the Yamaha. He said it's at the back of his mind. He's got to work out a plan. He's got to be 10, 12, 15 bike lengths clear of Marquez and Dovizioso coming out the last corner, because every time he's been with them throughout practice and they've been together or they've been behind him coming out the final corner, he's been blitzed by the line.
Valentino Rossi makes his way onto the grid, 14th spot for the Doctor. We just saw Dovizioso line up second on the grid. Of course, he won from 4th last year, more than capable. Good ride around here, got a lot of podiums in Qatar as well. And here is the world champion, Marc Marquez. Can he recover from the shoulder injury and put it on the top step a bit later on? You wouldn't put it past him, although he did say yesterday, and you called it absolutely right, Matt, by the way, when he dropped it down on that shoulder yesterday, he did just let it go. He was not willing to do the typical Marc Marquez and try and save anything.
Yeah, and will it be Marc Marquez of 2017 where he took his medicine, he knew he didn't have the pace, he just brought it home in a safe 4th place, or will it be the usual, the man we love and all in Marc Marquez going all out for victory? 4th place, head of the second row of the grid, Jack Miller. It's his 4th top 6 on the grid in the last 5. A bruising end to Q2 last night for Jack Miller. He was down at turn 2 in Q2, perfectly okay. Simon?
Yes, I'm in the middle of the grid with the reigning Moto2 world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. Pecco, tell us, what does it feel like being sit on the MotoGP grid?
Unbelievable. It's my first race, and I want to improve, to be better, no? And can be a school race, and I have to understand everything.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Pecco Bagnaia there. A few nerves and a few bits of tension, as you'd imagine, ahead of his Premier Class debut, something he's dreamed of for such a long, long time. Marc Marquez just leaving the grid. Winless here since 2014 as the reigning world champion. 3rd, of course, in a memorable MotoGP debut back in 2013.
Here is Danilo Petrucci. What can he do, Matt, here today? Tyre life always is the big question mark with Danilo Petrucci. His first full race as a factory rider. He would have wanted something better than 7th on the grid, though.
Well, you can see why Dovizioso's backed him, because in that session where you normally see the race pace come to the fore, well, Danilo Petrucci was first in FP4. He also topped the morning warm-up session as well, so he has got pace, Danilo Petrucci. What he won't want to do is get mired for too long behind the likes of Jack Miller and Fabio Quartararo, who perhaps haven't got that consistent race pace that Petrucci has. Franco Morbidelli, a bit like his mentor Valentino Rossi, has also encountered a few more front tyre issues than he was anticipating. Tried both the soft front tyre and the medium front tyre in last night's FP4, and he said, his words, he ruined both of them, although Michelin, Piero Taramasso, Michelin's motorsport manager, said this abrasive circuit here in Qatar, with all the sand and dust that's on the line, it's very abrasive. You do get graining. He said everybody's suffering with graining. He basically said Valentino Rossi and Yamaha, they haven't nailed the right setup to preserve the front tyre.
Wow, well, a hit back that was, for sure. There is the bike then, looking back at Jack Miller. Miller with that worrying crash yesterday, Dovizioso on the front row. I'm
really intrigued to know which rear tyre's going in here for Andrea Dovizioso, Steve, because we saw him in FP4 start last night with the soft tyre. Last year he raced to victory, the medium front soft rear tyre, and then when he switched onto the medium rear tyre in FP4, he just started banging in real fast laps for fun. And he said last night the reason is the medium tyre for this year is last year's soft rear tyre. That's why he was so fast in the medium, because it's the same tyre that he won last year's race on. Simon?
Yes, I'm with Taka Nakagami. Taka, it's been a really good off-season testing for you, and also qualifying was amazing. How are you feeling for the race?
Yeah, I'm really confident on the race, and but you never know. It's really tricky condition right now after 8 o'clock. So, yeah, try to be really focused on all the 22 laps, and try to be no mistake. And anyway, I try to make a good start, and as my eyes can follow the top guy.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck to Taka Nakagami. Thanks for that, Simon. You just saw there Cal Crutchlow, his teammate. Brilliant job to qualify in 6th, given what he's going through pain-wise at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, Cal Crutchlow still nowhere near 100% fitness after that horrible FP2 crash in Phillip Island back in October. There is the spectacular sight of the Losail International Circuit in all its floodlit glory. Downtown Doha on the horizon. We're about a 40-minute drive away from the capital, the 13th successive year that this nation has hosted the opening Grand Prix of the year. And as we mentioned a little bit earlier on, we're coming here until 2031 at least as well. Back to you, Simon, on the grid.
Yes, I'm standing between the two Suzukis with Davide Brivio. Davide, right through the testing, you know, the off-season, right up until more or less qualifying on the last days anyway, it had been going great, and then it's not gone as well the last days, you know. Can you explain why?
Yeah, we just missed something on the last qualifying section, and which was the important one of the weekend, but we have a good pace overall, and always Alex felt comfortable on the bike. Just yesterday, last night, during the qualifying was a very difficult condition, quite tricky. It was very humid, quite cold, and probably needed to take maybe more risk, which is good we didn't take on one side. But on the other, we have to start from 10th position. Will be a little bit difficult at the beginning, but if we can, let's say, we don't have to lose the top group and then try to stay close by the end of the race. Let's see. I mean, Alex can do that. And then on the other side, we have John, he's a rookie, and he has to learn. So let's go for the lesson 1.
Thanks for the time, Davide.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that, Davide Brivio. Alex Rins came into this one, Matt. We were talking about this last night as probably one of the favourites for a podium between all of us, myself, you and Simon. And yet it's been a bit of a role reversal.
It has, yeah. A couple of crashes yesterday for Alex Rins, bit of a jolt to his confidence. Andrea Dovizioso, though, said he still feels that Rins, if he can keep his powder dry in the first few laps, can play a big part in the podium battle. There is Taka Nakagami. We've just heard him talking on the grid with our very own Simon Cray. For shout-outs, actually, to Franco Morbidelli and Taka Nakagami. They both qualified inside the top 10 for the first time in MotoGP last night. So we'll see what those two can do from their career best qualifying performances.
Top 10, the target for Joan Mir. That's what he said a couple of days ago. He's getting more and more comfortable the more time he spends on that factory Suzuki. It's his first ever Grand Prix here tonight, the former Moto3 world champion.
Aleix Espargaro, the top Aprilia man in 12th place on the grid. Feels like Aprilia have got their form back, their speed back from 2017. Simon?
I'm standing on the front row of the grid with Paolo Ciabatti right next to Dovizioso. Paolo, you know, he looks really strong for the race. I've actually picked him to win. It's so difficult to pick a winner tonight. But tell me your feelings. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, as you said, I think we have a good pace with both riders. I think Danilo was also impressive. He has a very strong pace, but we're not alone. Obviously, it will be for sure Maverick and Mark will be there. And let's see, I think we can do a good race. Let's hope we can get a good start and avoid any problem in the first few laps.
Do you think tyres will come into play towards the end of the race?
I think, as usual, yes. I think we have quite a good strategy on saving the tires for the second part of the race. Let's see if it works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Strategy in place for Paolo Ciabatti then and for Ducati. Will it be a slow burner this at the start? Will there be a lot of riders saving their tyres for the end? Could that then mean that others are thrown into contention? We hope so. Here is Jorge Lorenzo. He'll start 15th.
Only 4 riders in history have won for 3 different brands. Eddie Lawson, Loris Capirossi, Randy Mamela and the legendary Mike Harewood. Will Jorge Lorenzo at some stage in 2019 join that exclusive and very illustrious club? Of course, a race winner previously for both Yamaha and for Ducati. Will he be able to do it as well in the famous livery of Repsol Honda, celebrating their 25th anniversary this year?
The smile's definitely been wiped off the face of Jorge Lorenzo. He was in a foul mood, and rightly so. when he exited scene in FP4 yesterday. Here's Pol Espargaro. KTM have found life incredibly difficult, I think it's fair to say, throughout winter testing. It's not quite been the forward step they were looking for yet, Matt.
No, definitely not. KTM have struggled. Just quickly, Steve, that there's always a different atmosphere and a different vibe about the first Grand Prix. None of the riders are being jovial and waving to the cameras. There's a real seriousness. There's a real tension in the air. It's such a key moment, the first Grand Prix, and even the best, even those guys that have been there, done it, like Valentino Rossi, like Andrea Dovizioso, Marc Marquez, they'll be feeling the tension. There'll be a few butterflies.
Maybe that will play into Valentino Rossi's hands, because it's on days like that where he normally comes through to conquer. Now that would be some show, wouldn't it, from 14th on the grid. Here's Tito Rabat. Great to have him back on the grid racing again. 18th it is for him today, the Realia Vintia Ducati man. Still not fully fit yet, but I'm sure we'll get the best of Tito Rabat once we return back into Europe.
Andrea Iannone preparing to make his factory Aprilia debut. Confident in his race pace, as he can't get the best out of the soft tyre as yet on the factory Aprilia, lacking a little bit of stability, a little bit nervous. His worst qualifying since Misano 2017, but he feels like he's got pace for a top 10 charge. Let's see what Iannone can do from 19th.
We inch closer to the start of 2019. The rocket Maverick Viñales looks up towards turn 1, wondering what might be. The MotoGP World Championship is getting underway. We get closer to lights out in Losail.
Dedication, strength, determination, pressure, precision, experience. Be stronger every day. Go on unexpected adventures. Push the limits of speed. 2019 presents new challenges. Isn't that right, guys?
It's the ultimate showdown. I'm ready for it.
The Italians are ready as well.
Everybody knows the target.
Time to nail it.
And don't forget the young pretenders, or are those contenders?
Podiums are not longer enough.
Everyone has their own goal, their own backstory, and an exciting future to unveil. And what about those boys in blue?
Passion makes you faster.
Confidence makes you stronger.
Others are trying to reach the next level.
Let's play.
So many unknowns.
We'll get the answers on track.
Limit, speed, adrenaline, emotions, rivalry, respect. This is MotoGP.
The main event of the evening in Qatar draws closer, Matt, and it's Viñales on pole.
Maverick Viñales, Andrea Dovizioso, reigning world champion Marc Marquez on the front row of the grid. Jack Miller, the rookie sensation, Fabio Quartararo and Cal Crutchlow complete row 2. Row 3 headed by Danilo Petrucci, Franco Morbidelli and Taka Nakagami. Morbidelli and Nakagami inside the top 10 for the first time. Alex Rins, Joan Mir and Aleix Espargaro round out row 4. Eko Bagnaia and yes, Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo way back on the 5th row. Pol Espargaro, Miguel Oliveira and Tito Rabat on row 6. Row 7, Andrea Iannone, Carol Abraham and Johan Zarco. Pole position man here 1 year ago with Happy Cyrene and Aprilia wildcard Bradley Smith rounding out row 8. 23 riders about to kick off the 2019 MotoGP World Championship.
So many times this happens. We wait, and the wait is over. sleepless nights, burning the midnight oil, the preparation that's gone into the winter tests. From the moment, there's problems in the background here, I'll stop. Fabio Quartararo cannot get his bike going.
He's got to come off the grid. You have to come off the grid.
Is a nightmare rookie start.
He's not allowed. He's not allowed to be on the grid. He's got to come off. That's all about the Marc Marquez in Argentina incident. He's about to drop that bike. He's got to keep his cool here at Fabio Quartararo. He cannot start from the grid.
What a disaster for Fabio Quartararo, the youngest rider on the grid. And you're right, he's got to keep his cool. This is not the moment to let it go. Someone needs to put an arm around his shoulder and tell him it'll be okay. But that is an absolute disaster.
Your heart sinks for poor old Fabio Quartararo. All the adrenaline coursing through his veins. Middle of the second row of the grid on his MotoGP debut, and he stalls it on the grid, Simon.
Another reason, I'm standing right next to him now, another reason that he has to keep his cool is he has lost that warm-up lap. You know, he's got a brand new rear tyre on that they fitted on the grid, and it'll be super easy to launch himself over the handlebars if he's a bit aggressive with the throttle on that first few corners.
That's a really good point made there, Simon. Thank you very much down in pit lane. Well, fingers crossed he has the people around him to be able to guide him through it. Meanwhile, this warm-up lap gets underway. He's finished on the podium, Dovizioso, around this Losail International Circuit 8 times. He was victorious 12 months ago. Can he back it up with another one here? There is Quartararo. He's got to the end of pit lane. Now you've got to try and compose yourself, Fabio.
Crestfallen Quartararo, and we haven't even had the first red lights go out of the season. What a cruel blow for the Frenchman, who's been flying throughout winter testing. An absolutely outstanding performance last night in Q2. So we haven't even had the start of the first Grand Prix, and there's been high drama, as always, in MotoGP.
Guys, the temperature's so critical on these tyres that most of the teams did that with a new tyre, not because they didn't want to run it in, but they wanted to keep the tyre on the warmers. So super scary for Quartararo.
Here we go. Viñales lines up on pole. Who dominates in the desert? Who will conquer Qatar? The stage is set. 2019 starts now. We wait for that green flag to wave at the back. There's a big gap, of course, on the grid where Fabio Quartararo was. That means there's an opening there for the likes of Morbidelli and Mir. Quartararo will start from pit lane when he's given the signal. Green flag in the back. Revs up, lights out on 2019. Great start from Miller on the second row. And it's a good start from Dovizioso also. Not so much for Marc Marquez. Quartararo finally exits pit lane, but it will be the whole shot for Desmo Dovi.
And the Ducati fitted, we think, with their brand new gadget, the whole shot device. No surprise, Dovizioso gets the whole shot from Jack Miller. Marc Marquez in third place. Maverick Viñales had a shocker. He's already outside of the top 6. This is what we feared for Viñales.
A good start from Taka Nakagami. Aggressive there on Maverick Viñales already, and Jack Miller now hunting down Dovizioso. Good start for Cal Crutchlow. He's just up behind Marc Marquez.
Maverick Viñales then lost 5 places off the line. He's down in 6th place. Alex Rinder's gathered up 1 spot into 9th spot. Joan Mir got a really good start. He's on the fringes of the top 6 right now. Mir came from 11th.
Danilo Petrucci's had a nightmare. He's dropped down 4 or 5 spots. Launch control obviously didn't work out too well for him. He's just up ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. Dovizioso leads from the Aussie, Jack Miller. Marc Marquez is in 3rd place. It's 4th for Crutchlow, 5th for his teammate Nakagami.
Andrea Dovizioso has not finished his Qatar Grand Prix outside the top 2 for the last 4 years. Exactly where he wants to be to kick off 2019. Leading Alma-Pama Ducati's Jack Miller. Marquez the world champion 3rd, Crutchlow 4th. Valentino Rossi is in 12th position.
He's just trying to make a move, actually, Rossi, up ahead of his protégé, shall we say, Franco Morbidelli. And now he's got another one to deal with in Pecco Bagnaia. Alex Rins just in the background, thought about a move up the inside of Maverick Viñales. Viñales then with work to do after setting off from pole and sitting now in 6th. Dovizioso still leads from Miller.
Jorge Lorenzo on his factory Honda debut. So much hype and expectation about Lorenzo. He lost 1 place in this first lap. He's down in 16th.
Lost the camera there for a moment. I thought someone was going down. There is Dovizioso then. Rossi makes up another space, by the way, just a bit further back. Miller second. There is Marquez now trying to get in the slipstream. Remember, Honda power this year. He's strong. Onto the start-finish straight we go, and here comes Marquez up the inside of Jack Miller. He moves into second.
Brilliant move by Marc Marquez. Jack Miller, though, straight up the inside of the world champion. Super aggressive from Jack Miller. Marc Marquez was in second place for all of about 3 or 4 seconds. Brilliant from the Aussie.
Good evening, sir, says Jack Miller. Franco Morbidelli still trying to make up for a poor start. He's down in 15th. Here we are on board now with Miller, looking back at Marc Marquez.
What a first lap as well by Taka Nakagami and Juan Mir. Nakagami from 9th to 5th. Mir super aggressive, the former Moto3 world champion. What a first lap in his first MotoGP. He's picked up 5 places, 11th to 6th. Electric start from Mir.
Into turn 6 we go. Dovizioso holding them off from Miller. Crutchlow looking there really strong, ahead of his teammate Takaki Nakagami.
Somebody who did lose out on that first lap was Franco Morbidelli on the Petronas Yamaha. He had a clear grid slot in front of him with his teammate Fabio Quartararo starting from pit lane. Morbidelli was 8th on the grid. He's outside the top 10 right now in 13th spot.
Valentino Rossi's got another place. He's up into the top 10 now. Further back, there is Jorge Lorenzo in 19th place, ahead of Tito Rabat and Carol Abraham. At the moment, Fabio Quartararo from pit lane is 6.5 seconds down on Cyrene at the back of the pack.
Yeah, if you're wondering how much time that pit lane start cost Fabio Quartararo, well, it was 10.6 seconds. That's how much he lost to your race leader, Andrea Dovizioso.
Marquez now going to pounce. He can see Dovizioso.
What's going on there with Jack Miller?
Miller really lost a lot of ground.
It was almost like he sat up. Has he got a problem? Jack Miller's got a problem.
He's got a huge
problem. Sat up. Oh, dear me.
What was he sitting up in the middle of the circuit for? What's happened?
He's just thrown something off his bike. There's something was like stuck, like something was stuck under his backside there or something.
What on earth is going on there? Onto the start-finish straight we go then. There's a big gap that's formed.
Taka Nakagami, elbows out all over Juan Mir. Maverick Vinales trying to fight his way back through the pack. Marquez and Dovizioso trade fastest laps of the race, and that's bettered by none other than Valentino Rossi, 156.240. It's all kicking off in Qatar.
It is. Taka Nakagami there as well. Just closed the door right on the front wheel of Maverick Vinales. Maverick Vinales is having an absolute nightmare here, Matt.
Well, as always, Steve, new tyres, full fuel tank. He wilted like he did do last year. And what's happened here with Jack Miller?
What is it that he's throwing off here? Right in the middle of the circle. Why is he sitting up there? Right underneath his seat.
It's his seat unit.
What? Wow.
Foam seat pad.
Yeah, it's obviously worked loose, hasn't it? And he's just decided to discard it right in the middle of the field.
That is pretty random. Dovizioso leads from Marquez. Crutchlow's doing a brilliant job in third. And Juan Mir is in 4th place, ahead of his factory Suzuki teammate, Alex Rins.
To some Suzuki insiders, Steve, here on Thursday, and they felt like they said that, to quote them, mid-season, Juan Mir may well be beating Alex Rins. It's taken 2.5 laps of the season for him to get in front of his teammate.
Brilliant stuff.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, awesome from Juan Mir. A couple of years ago, he was lining up here ahead of his Moto3 win on the championship winning season.
Well, how on earth is Jack Miller going to keep himself competitive when he's got no foam seat unit? He's going to be slipping and sliding around all over that Ducati, isn't he?
Yeah, you can't see him getting back into contention now, can you, sadly, for the Australian? Well, there's been enough happened so far in the opening few laps, that's for sure. There is Fabio Quartararo. He is catching Cyrene. He's only 4 seconds down on Hafiz Cyrene, who sits in 22nd place now.
Astonishingly, Fabio Quartararo has set the fastest lap of the race, a 156.141. Not even close. Fabio Quartararo's last lap was 0.7 of a second quicker than Andrea Dovizioso. Talk about kicking himself for stalling on the line.
Yeah, the problem is, Matt, is that these guys, of course, are setting an interesting pace, aren't they? Quartararo is just going gung-ho. He's a bit hot under the collar.
He's in the 55s. Fabio Quartararo has just logged a 55.039. Was that Miller running wide?
Yeah, I think
at the first corner?
One of the Alma Prime. No, it was Bagnaia. It was Bagnaia.
Steve, I can't believe this. Fabio Quartararo, 155.039. He was 1.4 seconds quicker than Andrea Dovizioso in the lead.
The problem is, Matt, he will burn out his tyres too early.
Yeah, he's absolutely chewing the life out of those tyres, but theory, mate.
It is unbelievable. We're on board now with Marc Marquez. Up ahead there is Andrea Dovizioso. How many times have we seen these two come together? It was this time last year we saw that brilliant battle that went all the way to the line. And Cal Crutchlow is still in touch with the world champion Marc Marquez, despite everything that's happened to him over the winter.
Yeah, and Alex Rins has had enough of seeing the back end of his teammate Joan Mir. He's made his move up into 4th place. He will not want to be beaten by his rookie teammate Joan Mir. I was going to say punching above his weight here, but that would be a bit of a disrespect because he's having an absolutely barnstorming performance so far. Vinales just slowly but surely picking his way through the field. You can see there smoke pouring off the Michelin rear tyre of Valentino Rossi.
Well, there you can see Valentino Rossi just a couple of places behind Vinales as well, over the back tyre of Takaki Nakagami. On board now with Cal Crutchlow, looking up at Marc Marquez. Crutchlow in 3rd at the moment, but he loses it. Rins is through. Now Rins is a dark horse here all of a sudden. He's had a nightmare weekend. He started 10th on the grid, but he is coming through, and Dovizioso was right to pinpoint him. Amir has now gone through on Cal Crutchlow as well. So Crutchlow's gone from podium contention to 5th in 2 corners.
Suzuki's are storming through. It was on lap 13 last year when Alex Rins perished at the 2nd corner while he was fighting inside that top 6. Crutchlow tries to fight back in Mir's slipstream, but Mir, the rookie, a demon on the brakes, gets in a fraction too hot but cuts it back to a late apex. Crutchlow can't find a way through.
Brilliant racing here. A bit further back through the field. Miguel Oliveira's worth a shout out as well, Matt. 13th place ahead of Pol Espargaro.
The only man that's been the 55 so far is Fabio Quartararo. Now, you'd imagine, we saw this, how many times did we see this last year? Andrea Dovizioso at the front as Rossi picks off, Taka Nakagami. Dovizioso would just sit there and run his own pace. He may well have already locked down here with the tyre preservation mode, Andrea Dovizioso, because we can see as Rins goes 2nd up the inside of Marc Marquez, we know what the fastest lap times are capable of because Quartararo's doing them. He's doing low 155s. These guys are a mile off the pace of what's being capable of. This is just time management right now.
Of course it is. This is all part of the tactics. Dovizioso's where he wants to be. Paolo Ciabatti said they've got a game plan. Well, it's probably working at the moment. Alex Rins is featuring. So after all the tough times he's spent over the last couple of days, he's there, he's in contention.
Spoke to Andrea Dovizioso for an interview last night, Stephen. He was very, very cautiously saying, do not rule out Rins. If he can bounce back and cast aside those 2 crashes yesterday, he'll be right there. All winter Rins has had blistering race pace. He's swarming all over the rear tyre here of Andrea Dovizioso. We know Andrea Dovizioso and the pursuit pack. They've got so much left in the locker. Here comes Rins. He leads the Qatar Grand Prix on the Suzuki. He's taken Marquez and Dovizioso on this 5th lap. Rins leads.
5 laps gone, he's gone from 10th to 1st. Alex Rins is in business here in Doha. On to the start-finish straight we go. We have a factory Suzuki leading from factory Ducati with then Marc Marquez, but Dovi fights back. Side by side they go into turn 1. Dovizioso resumes as the race leader. In the background there, Maverick Vinales coming under pressure now from his teammate Valentino Rossi.
Well, really one of Suzuki's very, very few weaknesses brutally exposed there. They are lacking a bit of top speed. Andrea Dovizioso just effortlessly stripping off that blue paint of the GSX-RR. He moves back into the lead. We haven't spoken about the pole man, Maverick Vinales, for 2 or 3 laps. He's in 7th place, being hounded and hunted by his teammate Valentino Rossi. Vinales has got in the 55s now. He's a 55.814. Fabio Quartararo has already found his way through on former Tech 3 man Hafiz Syarine. Bit of a humbling experience on the KTM for the Malaysian.
There is Joan Mir. We're looking at him from Cal Crutchlow in 5th place. What a job from Joan Mir. If he finishes in the top 5 tonight, that would be absolutely outstanding on his debut in MotoGP. Rossi is 8th, ahead of Franco Morbidelli, who started to pick up a few places. Miller's dropped to 10th, Nakagami's dropped to 11th, Aleix Espargaro is down to 12th.
Well, it's interesting, Steve, because the 4 guys that consistently through winter testing had the best race pace as Rins snaps back on through the inside of Dovizioso, but he's in hot, and Dovizioso needs no second invitation. Andrea Dovizioso, he's cool, calm and calculated. He's methodical, he's analytical, they call him the professor, but when he needs to be ruthless, boy, he gets ruthless.
Big look over the shoulder there from the world champion Marc Marquez in 3rd, and he got a face full of Joan Mir and Cal Crutchlow. If he was wondering if they were alone, he's wrong. Maverick Vinales feinted a move up the inside of Petrucci, who didn't know he was there.
Somebody who's had a real good charge through the pack early doors here is Franco Morbidelli. Not that long ago, he was in 13th place. He's back inside the top 10 in 9th. The Well, I was going to say seatless Jack Miller, but of course he hasn't got any foam on that seat. He's struggling to go in that top 10 right now. Dovizioso, Marquez has found his way back into second place, uses the top speed of that Honda to sweep on through by Alex Rins.
They bunch up a bit then as Rossi tags onto the back of this leading group of 8. Dovizioso is in front on the Ducati from Honda's Marc Marquez. Then it's Suzuki's of Alex Rins and Joan Mir on board now with Marquez, looking back to Rins. There is Petrucci, desperate to find a way past Cal Crutchlow.
We said MotoGP in 2019 was going to be the best ever, the competition tougher than ever. Well, we've had, what, 6.5 laps here in Qatar, and the top 9 riders are covered by just a second.
That was close from Petrucci, thought about a block pass on Cal Crutchlow. There just wasn't quite enough of a gap there for him to be able to execute the move. Rins now all over the tail unit of Marquez once more. Still not that pace that we expect to see that Fabio Quartararo started with. By the way, Quartararo's already made a couple of places up, despite moving from pit lane. He's up to 21st, ahead of Bradley Smith and Hafiz Sairi.
So there it is, that lead group of 9 riders. Brilliant helicopter shot, showing exactly how close it is, and Alex Rins again. In these fast right-handers, Alex Rins with that manoeuvrable, agile Suzuki chassis. He's brilliant in this third sector, is Alex Rins. He's picked the pocket of Marquez brilliantly. Again there, Rins back into second. This is where he's got to make his moves though, and this is where he's got to make his time, Alex Rins, because on the start-finish straight, the Suzuki's found some horsepower this year, but still not enough to fight with Honda and Ducati on the start-finish straight. Petrucci up the inside of Cal Crutchlow. It was tight, not a lot of room there, but whatever room there was, Petrucci stole it from the Brit.
Yeah, it was clean as well. A good move that from the Italian. Danilo Petrucci then moves up one spot into 5th place overall. Here comes Rins, thought about a move up the inside, got some slipstream. Here comes Petrucci, thought about a move up the inside of Mir, doesn't work.
Can't recall Andrea Dovizioso too often in this race actually even needing to get into a 155. Last time around a 156.4. Got to think that these guys have got plenty left in the locker, plenty left in the tank. Going to be a pretty intriguing last 7 or 8 laps, I think. Simon?
I'm glad you said that, Matt. What's happening, Dovi is managing the race, leading it at the slowest possible pace to keep some tyres. Mark sitting behind him, you know why, waiting to pounce at the end, those last 5-6 laps. The Suzuki boys aren't doing it. Like the last couple of laps, Rins pulled out on the next left-hander, which is a big hard drive section, hammered the rear tyre past the Honda, and he's just using more tyre than the other boys.
Well, Rins is trying now. He's got out front for a few corners of Dovizioso just to check out a bit, but is he using crucial tyre life? That's the big question. Marquez now then sees an opportunity to try and have a nibble at Andrea Dovizioso himself.
Well, Suzuki have never had a podium here in Qatar. Best of 4th place for John Hopkins 12 long years ago in 2007, and here we are in 2019, 2 Suzukis inside the top 4.
On board with Dovi, looking back to Marquez, and then back to Marquez looking at Dovi. This is the battle for second place. It's still Rins that leads this one. Joan Mir, brilliant job still. He's in 4th ahead of Danilo Petrucci.
This is just how Andrea Dovizioso likes to operate, isn't it? Half race distance, manage that tyre. He can't relax though because Marc Marquez doing exactly the same thing. Maverick Viñales, Valentino Rossi and Franco Morbidelli, they're all within a second. The top 9 riders still split by just 1 second. Who is keeping the best rear tyre life for those crucial last 5 laps? That was Yamaha's big weakness over the last couple of years. What we know is not a Ducati weakness, is its horsepower and its speed on the start-finish straight. And yet again, for the umpteenth time in Qatar, Andrea Dovizioso blitzes by Alex Rins. He's back in the lead.
They said that the new Suzuki was going to be a rocket ship, but they need a few horsepower more, don't they? It's not quite enough for that blue Suzuki for Alex Rins. Here's a replay of the start then.
Well, you can see there, Morbidelli got an absolute shocker. He was getting absolutely swamped.
You see, the start wasn't so bad for Viñales. It's just after that, the next few corners with that full fuel tank, just getting completely...
There was contact there as well, a bit further down the field. Sorry, Steve, I don't know if it was Andrea Iannone, it was an Aprilia that definitely clipped the rear tyre of Franco Morbidelli.
That was a shocking start from Danilo Petrucci. He did not get the whole shot device working there. That is what it looks like when you're in the middle of the pack in MotoGP going into turn 1.
Talk about harem scarum. Absolutely breathtaking action on board with Danilo Petrucci, who at the moment is right in contention to kick off his factory Ducati career on the top step of the podium. Here again, Rins. This is where he's doing all of his work in this third sector. It's where you've got fast change of direction, high corner speed. It's where that chassis underneath him, that Suzuki chassis, it just comes in to its own. High speed corners, that's where the Ducati suffers. Mid-corner turning, a lack of agility through those fast turns, that's where Andrea Dovizioso is at his most vulnerable, and Alex Rins is jumping all over him when he needs to.
We're on the 9th lap, there's 14 to go. There's Petrucci trying to go through on Joan Mir as we now make our way onto the start-finish straight to complete lap number 9. We ride on board with Marc Marquez in 3rd place, looking up to Dovi. Nothing wrong with the speed of this Honda. You can see him just drawing closer and closer there to Dovizioso, who's again gone through on Alex Rins. I
mean, Dovizioso must be demoralising Alex Rins right now. Nothing that he can do about it. Look at that, you can see on the screen there. Dovizioso, 340 Ks. Alex Rins, almost a full 10K slower through the speed traps than Andrea Dovizioso's Ducati. And again, though, Rins pounces.
Shout out to Jack Miller, despite not having any foam on his seat unit, as Dovi takes his arm off the handlebar there for a split second. He's now gone onto the tail of the 3 Yamahas that are in 7th, 8th and 9th.
And Petrucci pounces on Marc Marquez at turn 6. That's brilliantly done by the factory Ducati man. So 2 factory Ducatis now inside the top 3, hunting down Alex Rins. Petrucci, that was a nice, clean, clinical move up the inside of Marc Marquez, the world champion, back to 4th.
Well, if Dovizioso had rear view mirrors and saw that, he'd be high-fiving his teammate right now. Big smiles on the face of Suzuki at the moment. Rins is leading. Joan Mir, the rookie's in 5th. Crutchlow's still there. Still no movement from the Yamahas. There's 3 of them there. Vignales 7th. Morbidelli now is up ahead of Valentino Rossi in 8th.
The good thing is, though, Steve, they don't need to be pushing because the pace is so slow that Vignales and Rossi and Morbidelli are not having to really stretch themselves, really get into those 155s and burn up their tyres. These guys just know that they are in the hunt, and they themselves are just thinking, OK, well, they're not getting away in front of me, so I'm just going to keep this pace and try and keep some tyre or rear tyre for the end of the race myself.
Here is your top 9 riders. Jack Miller there just in the background in 10th place. This is Petrucci and Marc Marquez. As we go across the line, there will be 12 to go.
Interesting, Andrea Dovizioso this weekend, he hardly touched that sort of new rear spoiler, as again he's going to use the slipstream to lunge up the inside of Alex Rins at the first corner. Dovizioso has hardly touched that rear spoiler. We think it's designed to keep temperature cooler on that rear tyre. He used it in the warm-up and he's using it again in this race. Petrucci and Jack Miller, they've used it pretty much all the time since it was introduced in Sepang.
Here is Cal Crutchlow swarming all over the tail unit there of Joan Mir, the rookie, who in his first ever MotoGP race will be starting to feel the effects in terms of the physicality of it. Not that Cal Crutchlow is exactly fully fit himself right now, as Marc Marquez block passes Rins brilliantly there and moves back up into 2nd place. That costs Rins dear. Rins has lost another one to Petrucci as well.
Yeah, that won't rattle Rins though. He knew it was perhaps coming from Marc Marquez. You can't be sitting in front of Marc Marquez for too long. I'm not expecting him to have an attack up the inside.
On board with Crutchlow. He got through on Joan Mir. Brivio looks on. Suzuki X-Star MotoGP manager. Oh, Joan Mir really engaged in a brilliant battle here with Crutchlow, but here comes Maverick Vignales now. Can he find a way through? Just no acceleration still there for the Yamahas.
Yeah, Maverick Vignales, his main complaint at the test here as well was a lack of edge grip. He was worried about that 3rd sector a couple of years ago. That's where he made up all of his time to hold up Andrea Dovizioso in 2017. What have the Yamahas got when the pace gets hotter? We know that Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez, quite possibly Danilo Petrucci, they've not put their cards on the table yet at all. They're keeping them right close to their chest. There's a lot of lap time to come from Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez.
We're about to cross the line to complete lap 11 with 11 to go. It is the halfway point of the first race of 2019, and we have our first retirement, I'm afraid to say. Pecco Bagnaia, number 63, went straight on earlier, has had to retire into pit lane. Petrucci goes through into 3rd. ahead of Alex Rins.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the stage of the race, Steve, where Dovizioso and Marc Marquez, they're just upping their rhythm here. They're trying to get away. They're trying to break up this lead group. Valentino Rossi has a big moment coming through turn number 3. Petrucci, he can see the fact that Dovizioso and Marquez, he doesn't want to let them make a crucial gap. He had to find a way through quickly on Alex Rins.
Dovizioso leads then from Marquez. We've said that a few times in the last couple of years. Will it be a repeat of what we had last year?
I'll tell you what, if it carries on here, we're going to be easily having the closest top 15 MotoGP race in history. The point scoring finishes right now. Johan Zarco's 15th. He's only 5.1 seconds behind your race leader.
This is the moment where, unfortunately, at turn 1, it went wrong for Pecco Bagnaia, and his first MotoGP race will not be ended seeing the checkered flag. 10 and a bit laps remain. That's the battle for third. They're just struggling. You're right, Matt. These two are pulling away. The fastest laps from Dovizioso and Marquez are starting to come in.
Yeah, that was a great shot there, rear-facing shot of Alex Rins. You could see that he was having spinning on that rear tyre. There was a lot of smoke pouring off Alex Rins' rear tyre there now. Has he had to be on, well, more on the limit than Dovizioso and Marquez to keep himself in this lead group? Alex Rins desperately trying to cling on to that podium battle.
Danilo Petrucci in third, looking as a factory Ducati rider for his first podium for his new team. Onto the start-finish straight we go.
It's unbelievable, though. We're now over half race distance, and the top 20 riders are not even covered by 10 seconds. Absolutely incredible, astonishing. We promised it was going to be close. We promised it was going to be intense, and it's so far delivered. Rins fights back.
Cal Crutchlow still in contention for a podium here.
Well, he's just running on adrenaline, isn't he? Skill, talent, and a lot of adrenaline, Cal Crutchlow.
This would go down as Cal's best ever podium if he does manage it, I'll say that much. Joan Mir still isn't out of the hunt either. He's still in 6th, ahead of the 3 Yamahas who just cannot break down that barrier and get into the top 6.
Do you know what? It's shaping up to be another classic duel, a showdown between the two main men in 2017, the two main men in 2018, Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez. They are just opening up that gap. The gap between Marquez and Alex Rins, it's up to half a second, although Rins, he's so strong in the 2nd and 3rd sectors. That's where he really hunts them down.
Asking questions of Marc Marquez is Dovizioso. Alex Rins there in 3rd place, looking quite smooth. Not completely lost touch of the two in front of him on this last lap. There's 0.4 of a second between the 93 and 42. Further back, that is Fabio Quartararo, who started from pit lane, going past the helpless at the moment and injured Jorge Lorenzo.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm afraid to say Jorge Lorenzo on for a pointless debut on the factory Honda. Although you've got to say, you've got to cover him with an awful lot of credit. He's only 7.1 seconds off your race leader at the moment.
It's going to be a disastrous day for Alma Pramac Ducati, I'm afraid. Bagnaia's retired, and it looked like there Miller's sitting up. He's dropped out of the points now. Quartararo's going to be on for some, despite starting from pit lane.
I bet there's a few people who won't be happy with Jack Miller as well, Steve, launching his foam seat mid-pack in the early stage of the race. That could have clapped him for somebody.
Won't have gone down too well, will it? 9 laps to go. Dovizioso, Marquez, Rins. Bit of a gap then back to these two. Petrucci and Crutchlow in 4th and 5th.
Well, if Vinales and Rossi and Morbidelli on those trio of Yamahas have got anything, they've got to start pushing here because they're just being dropped. And I think Rossi there was about to force the issue on his teammate Vinales at turn 2. I don't think he quite made it. But these two, they're running the risk of being dropped out of this podium battle here. They've got to find something. 9 laps to go. They can't run this pace.
Well, let me tell you, I had Maverick Vinales down for a race win here today. It's been anything but that. Since that start, he's just not been able to get down to the lap times and cannot get in front.
Last lap, Steve, Andrea Dovizioso a 1:55.385. Maverick Vinales a 1:56 flat, 0.7 of a second slower than Andrea Dovizioso. Every man in the top 6 on the last lap set their fastest laps of the race. The pin's been pulled, the pace is hotting up here, and I don't think the Yamahas have got the rhythm.
Nightmare start to 2019 for Alma Pramac Ducati. That's the moment where Jack Miller launched his foam seat right in the middle of the pack whilst he was in the top 5.
Yeah, that's really, really cruel for Jack Miller to miss out on the chance to fight for the podium in the opening Grand Prix as Alex Rins. He's not taking this one lying down at all, is he, the Suzuki man, showing Marc Marquez a front wheel.
Well, Dovizioso is actually allowing Petrucci and Mir to come back into this one right now.
Well,
So it looked like they were going to pull the pin a minute ago.
Well, you know what, Dovizioso probably got into the low 155, Steve, just to see who could go with him. And then go, okay, well, I've dragged, you know, the lead group of 9's come down to 5. Okay, I'll back it off now, save the tyre again for the last 3 or 4 laps.
See if anyone can hassle Marc Marquez for me.
I mean, Andrea Dovizioso, you know he's not going to get rattled. How many times has he come across the line and seen Marquez at the bottom of his pit board?
G5 it said on his pit board then, that means group of 5. He will allow, by going at this pace, the Yamahas just to feature once more, but like Matt says, if they're able to, they might be able to go through. Now, mapping 3 for Alex Rins. Here we go into tyre conservation mode.
Absolutely. But is it, though, to go to a softer mapping as you'd expect, to keep slum life in the tyre, manage the wheel spin, or is it to go to more power? Have they been saving power for the end of the race? Sometimes that happens in MotoGP. It's against conventional wisdom. You sort of think at this stage of the race, they're actually dumbing down the power to manage the tyre. Well, they might have already been in that phase at the start of the race to save the tyre.
Well, do they have something up their sleeve? Suzuki and Alex Rins. Petrucci's out there on a soft combo. He's in 4th place right now. The top 3 are all on medium front, medium rear.
Andrea Dovizioso, Steve, on 2 laps ago, he did a 155.3. Looked like he was checking out. That last lap, he's back right out of it again. He went down to 156.1, slowed by almost a second. He was just there asking a couple of questions there, just to see, okay, this is what I've got at this stage of the race. I'm going to go down to 155.3. Who's coming with me? The bad news for Dovi is they all are.
He's playing with his food at the moment, isn't he? Testing the temperature of the water, Andrea Dovizioso. So far, though, so good. The game plan is working, but at what point does he go again? This is Johann Zarco, by the way. He's on for a solitary point, but he's being hunted down by Fabio Quartararo, and Rins has got back through.
Well, it is now
Marquez.
back again, a lead group of 8. Franco Morbidelli's been dropped off it. He's been dropped back into the clutch. He's having a good fight for 9th place rather, with Taka Nakagami. So there's going to be 7 laps to go very, very shortly. G5, they need to change that. It's G8.
Not the summit, we should just point out.
No.
Into turn 1 we go. Dovizioso Marquez, who's back through again on Alex Rins into turn number 1. Petrucci then is in 4th, Crutchlow 5th.
This is going to be the big test soon for Vinales and Rossi, Steve. We're getting into that time of the race, that territory where last year they faded like a cheap pair of curtains. They ran out of rear grip. Yamaha have worked so much on improving the electronics. They've worked so much on chassis and geometry. They've tried to get more mechanical grip. It's been all about rear tyre endurance. We're about to find out if they found a fix.
It's Ducati, Honda, Suzuki. Ducati, Honda, Suzuki in the top 6, followed by 3 Yamahas. Morbidelli has dropped right out of it, by the way. He is now falling into the hands of Nakagami in a battle for 9th place, a bit further back behind this group of 8.
Dovizioso just perfectly content to hover around those 156s. Last time around, 156.077. Marc Marquez equally just perfectly content to continue shadowing him. Alex Rins is still there. Cal Crutchlow's right in the mix. Petrucci, Mir, Vinales and Rossi. Johann Zarco's in 15th place. He's only 8 seconds off of your race leader Andrea Dovizioso at this stage of the race.
Rins is through again on Marc Marquez, but he runs it slightly wide. Will Marc pounce? No.
The problem for Rins, Steve, is if he's going to win this Grand Prix, he's going to have a buffer of about 10 bike lengths coming out the final corner. Can he open up that kind of a gap? Has he got the rear grip to open up that kind of a gap in sectors 2 and 3 on the final lap? Because we know he'll get blitzed before the line.
Simon?
Yeah, I just spoke to the Pramac team and they said Jack couldn't continue riding the bike because his body position was so different. He ended up destroying the front tyre.
Yeah, a real shame that for Jack Miller. Valentino Rossi is on the charge. He's just picked up his teammate Maverick Vinales at turn number 16. That's put Rossi into 7th place. He's less than a second off the race lead right now, Valentino Rossi.
Further back, Miguel Oliveira embroiled in a brilliant battle between Andrea Iannone, Zarco and Fabio Quartararo.
Well, this is for a point for Fabio Quartararo, maybe even more. What a recovery this has been by Fabio Quartararo. If he passes his fellow Frenchman, Johann Zarco, he's in 15th place. What a salvage job that would be, having started from the pit lane.
Here we are then, back at the front.
Here comes Rossi. He's got Mir as well. He's taken the two Spaniards, Vinales and Mir, in quick succession. Valentino Rossi is starting to edge ever closer to another podium battle here at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar.
Wow.
Rossi's had podiums in 5 of the last 6 here. This would be brilliant. He's come from 14th on the grid.
That would be a masterstroke from the 40-year-old. It really, really would. There's a few people in this group where podiums you just have to bow and say, well, this is unbelievable.
I'm really intrigued now, Steve, to find out what's about to unfold, because it's normally with about 5 laps to go when Dovizioso goes, OK, guys, I'm out of here. I'm going to try and up the pace now. Let's see what you've got. We're about to hit the 5 lap to go mark. And will Andrea Dovizioso, as we look at Marc Marquez, will he decide that this is the time where he makes the key break to try and win for the 2nd year in a row here in Qatar?
Well, he might do, especially given, Matt, that he'll see Rins on his pit board as well. That could be the significant factor.
What a ride by this man as well, Taka Nakagami. He's there in 9th place at the moment, getting the better of Franco Morbidelli. A pair of them on Hondas last year. Pastures new for Franco Morbidelli this season. So here we go then.
Guys, before it all kicks off, you got to... you have to hear what that sounds like. 300 horsepower at well over 300 kilometres an hour.
Thanks for that, Simon. Well, it's 8 or 9 of them coming across the line at the same time. This is Taka Nakagami. He's in 9th, then Morbidelli and Aleix Espargaro. But it's this front group we need to concentrate on, because any minute now we suspect Dovizioso is going to pull a pin.
Well, will he chance it and leave it later? If anybody's got the confidence to do it, it will be Andrea Dovizioso. He's had some majestic showdowns, has he, with Marc Marquez. Alex Rins right in there as well. What about this? Misano, Catalunya, Assen, Hockenheim and the Salzburg Ring. The last time Suzuki had podiums in 5 races in a row. The legend Kevin Schwantz, way back in 1993. They're on course for their 4th successive podium, the Hamamatsu factory.
Maverick Vinales just cannot find a way past Joan Mir. In fact, he's just done it, but I think he's left it way too late. Look at the time he's lost. We've now got a group of 6 riders in it for the podium here, with what will be 4 laps to go when they next come round.
Yeah, Maverick Vinales trying to find a way through on Joan Mir. He's lost over a second to Valentino Rossi. There's Cal Crutchlow, the heroic ride. The British fans, and they've got nothing left on their fingernails, that's for sure. Cal Crutchlow's doing them proud right now. On his last lap, Cal Crutchlow got down to a 1:55.440. The best lap of Crutchlow's race so far. He's having won the race of his Grand Prix career at the moment. Crutchlow still right in the hunt for a podium here.
Well, this is Braveheart performance levels from Cal Crutchlow. I just didn't think this was possible.
Dovizioso's not gone yet. He did lower his pace last time around to a 1:55.4.
On to the start-finish straight we go. 4 laps remaining. Marquez now pounces on the number 42. And he's going to have a look through maybe on Dovizioso. No.
Personal best laps fired in by Marc Marquez, Cal Crutchlow and Danilo Petrucci. Brace yourselves, folks. Strap yourselves in. Lock the front door. Turn the phone off, because this last 4 laps here in Qatar is going to be absolutely crazy.
Andrea Dovizioso, since we got going in this race, hasn't been in control. It's in his hands. Has he got the answer to the final question? Will it be a battle right to the last corner between him and Marc Marquez, as it was last year, or will anyone else stick with them?
Crutchlow, there you go, personal best lap, 55.3. Nothing between him and Danilo Petrucci. Penny for Maverick Vinales' thoughts right now. He's just watching this battle unfold. He's a frustrated spectator, just can't quite get close enough, and he's running out of time, the pole man.
Here we go. This could be the break being made now. Both Petrucci and Rossi are struggling to live with the pace of the top 4.
2 guys, Steve, who traditionally do run into rear tyre grip problems towards the end of the race. They've asked big questions about a rear tyre. It was front tyre woes that cost Rossi throughout practice and qualifying after that stellar start in FP1. Valentino Rossi, I think, will be happy to salvage a top 6 from 14th on the grid, and crucially right now, be top Yamaha.
Marc Marquez is starting to warm himself up. He's in 2nd place. We're looking back at him now from Dovizioso, the race leader. Rins is still there, though, still in contention. Crutchlow likewise. The gap from Crutchlow back to Petrucci, half a second now.
Got to say, a massive amount of credit to Alex Rins. He must have knocked his confidence with a couple of spills last night to bounce back in this kind of fashion, to still be right in the victory battle. He said it's time to turn podiums into victories for Suzuki. Is tonight the night?
Across the line we go, 3 laps to go. Marquez challenged Dovizioso then. Challenge not accepted. Dovizioso took it back and Rins has gone wide.
That's a big mistake then by Alex Rins. Cal Crutchlow pounces. He didn't have to work that hard for it, did he, Cal Crutchlow? Dovizioso then from Marquez. 2 Hondas now inside the top 3. Honda winless here in Qatar since 2014. Will Dovizioso do the business on them again?
Oh, he just went in way too hot there, Alex Rins, into turn 1. He was so close to Marquez, he had to go straight on.
Yeah, he might count himself pretty fortunate that Petrucci and Rossi weren't able to sweep on through as well, because that may have done for Alex Rins' podium charge. As he did, it's still game on.
Into turn 6 with 3 laps to go. Still the Ducati from the Honda and the other Honda of Cal Crutchlow, who now sits in a podium position. Rossi has just gone through on Petrucci. He moves up into 5th, but he's still a little bit short of this leading quartet.
And the Top Gun's firing finally. Maverick Vinales has just set his fastest lap of the race, a 1:55.341. But is it all too little, too late? He's easily dropped Joan Mir. It's still going to be an outstanding MotoGP debut for Joan Mir in 8th place, if you can see it through to the checkered flag.
This is almost a carbon copy of Maverick Vinales from 12 months ago. He left it until the last 5-6 laps to post his fastest laps of the race. Here we go then. Around these right-handers. Marquez right on the tail unit now of Dovizioso.
How many times have we seen this over the last couple of years? Dovizioso versus Marquez. The personal duel between the two men. A great technical war raging between Ducati and Honda. They've been the 2 dominant factories over the last couple of years in MotoGP. 2 laps to go here in Qatar, and the moment of truth is about to arrive. Andrea Dovizioso leads Marc Marquez. Cal Crutchlow still right in the hunt. Alex Rins in 4th place. Rossi in 5th. Vinales again sets another personal best lap of the race, a 55.256. Can Vinales somehow work some magic in the last couple of laps? I think it is too late.
Marc Marquez looking for a move now, looking for a gap. Will he try turn 6? He does like it into that left-hander. Will there be a gap? Will there be a door open from Dovizioso?
Oh,
Dovizioso's
made a mistake.
Big mistake, a rare one as well for Dovizioso. He's been in control throughout this race, and Marc Marquez now sees his own opportunity.
Well, there's one for the scrapbook. That's a collector's item, a mistake by Andrea Dovizioso. That is very rare indeed. He made a couple last year, of course, that really dented his championship challenge, led or crashed out the lead in Le Mans.
That stake, in inverted commas, has put him in the perfect spot though, guys.
Well, he gets a good chance to see where Marc Marquez is strong, that's for sure. It's the first time he's been behind Marc Marquez for the whole race. Bradley Smith's taking a tumble at the first corner, the Aprilia wildcard.
Petrucci's out of puff, Vinales is out of puff. They're both out of it in 6th and 7th. Rossi somehow still hanging on.
What a shot there. Alex Rins has been treating it to some spectacular wheel spinning action. Smoke billowing off that rear tyre. Now Andrea Dovizioso is going to need some Honda horsepower here. He's going to need all of those 300 ponies underneath him to try and find a way through. Down the start-finish straight on Marc Marquez.
Here he goes. Oh, thought he was having a go there, Matt.
I thought he was having a nibble there. So here we go. We've got 1 lap and 1 corner to go then in 2019, the season opener. It's been the classic we all hope for. Marc Marquez will lead over the line surely to start this final lap. We're about 6 kilometres away from the end of what's been an absolutely unbelievable start to 2019.
Here comes Dovizioso, through on the slipstream, up the inside, a powerhouse on the Bologna Bullet, into turn 1.
Can he get it stopped? That's the crucial question. Yes, he can. He sort of drags it, holds it up on the brakes into the middle of the corner, slows down Marc Marquez. So Dovizioso then decides to pick up the baton. Dovizioso versus Marc Marquez at the moment on this last lap. Crutchlow, Rins and Rossi still right there.
Oh, big moment for Marquez. Almost loses the front. The rear comes round a bit, but they're still all in contention. Crutchlow still somehow there. Rins and Rossi also.
Oh, Crutchlow was in hot at turn number 4 as that just cost him crucial time. Look at Marc Marquez. He's having moments galore on the front end of that Repsol Honda.
Oh, this is brilliant stuff here. And the opening night of Qatar has delivered in 2019.
Will Dovizioso sucker Marquez in like he did last year at the final corner? He released the brakes, Marquez went for the lunge up the inside, and on the cut back, Dovizioso got him on the line. It was the 8th closest finish in Premier Class history 1 year ago. It's all set again for another showdown. Dovizioso versus Marquez, Honda versus Ducati. Marquez makes his move, big moment on the front end, can he hold it stick? Dovizioso tries to fight back.
Side by side they are. It is Dovi versus Marquez, but Marquez has asked questions earlier than usual. He goes through but can't make it his front end. Oh my word, he's asking questions of that.
How is Marc Marquez still on board that factory Honda? Incredible. He's pushing it to the absolute limit. We're in the final sector. Is it going to be a carbon copy of 1 year ago here in Qatar? 2 corners to go. It's Andrea Dovizioso that holds the advantage. Marquez, you know he's going to attack. Marc Marquez will go all in. Can he find a way up the inside?
It's a repeat, surely. No. Oh, here he goes. He sits him up. He's lost momentum. They both run wide. Here comes Dovizioso. Oh my word. The checkered flag is out. Who's going to win this one? It looks like the top step is stained in red once more. Dovizioso just gets it on the line.
It's an absolute carbon copy of 1 year ago. You knew Marc Marquez was going to throw the kitchen sink. It came, bolts, nuts galore, but he couldn't make it stick. He picked up Dovizioso. Dovizioso knew the move was coming, and on the cut back, he took the victory. Again, the winning margin just 0.02 of a second, just like it was last year. Marc Marquez, what a fighter, what a world champion. Cal Crutchlow on the podium, a truly heroic performance from the British rider there. The top 5 riders covered by just 0.6 of a second. MotoGP is back. What a race.
That was unbelievable. Dovizioso does it again. The Suzuki guys are going to be disappointed. There's no podium for them today. Cal Crutchlow, that is the finest podium I've ever seen. From what he's gone through, he's not raced a motorcycle since Motegi.
Please, somebody find me a dark room. I need to lie down urgently.
And where the bloomin' heck did Valentino Rossi come from, Matt? 14th on the grid, written off this morning. He finishes 0.6 behind the winner.
Yeah, he was less than 0.3 of a second off the podium. Wow. You know, sometimes you think you might overhype the first race of the season. You build it up, all the anticipation, all the expectation. What a show. The pre-event press conference, every single rider to a man said, make no doubt about it, MotoGP is the greatest show on earth. Look at this.
This is turn 10. Great move from Marquez, but brilliant reply from Dovizioso. And then look at this, Matt. Side by side, both screaming for grip.
This is at turn 16, just like it was a year ago.
Dovi had to sit up then, you know. He had to sit up, because if not, there would have been a bit of contact there, wouldn't there?
What a race. What a race. What a way to start 2019. Andrea Dovizioso by the narrowest of margins. That's how tight it was at the checkered flag. That's what it looks like when the first Grand Prix of the year and your top 5 are covered by just 0.6 of a second. History's been made again here as well in Qatar. That's the closest top 15 we've ever seen in Grand Prix history, with Johann Zarco over the line, just 15 seconds behind Andrea Dovizioso. Can't we just get on the plane and go to Argentina tomorrow?
Ducati come out firing once more. Marc Marquez will be disappointed, but when he reflects back on this, I'm sure he'll be happy. And what on earth must this man be thinking?
Yeah, well, again, Steve, it was all about the first 10 laps. Full fuel tank. Maverick Vinales told us last night he was absolutely convinced. He'd have put his mortgage on the fact that they'd solved his early race woes. Back to the drawing board on that one. Whew. What a ride by that man as well. 40 years of age. And he's 0.6 of a second away from victory in the first Grand Prix, and he started from 14th on the grid. Credit to that man as well. It's his famous saying, isn't it? All in Marc Marquez. I think it's fair to say it was all in and more. But again, the Dovizioso Marquez duel count goes up in favour of Andrea Dovizioso. There was a bit of revenge for Marquez in Buriram last October, but invariably, Steve, it's been old Desmo Dovi that's done it.
Yeah, and that'll hurt a bit.
That's going to sting.
That will hurt a bit for Marc Marquez, which is why he's not celebrating a second place so much. Pol Espargaro there, 12th. That's about the best they could manage here this weekend.
He probably can't believe it. He's looking at the screens going, hang on a minute, you're telling me I was 12 seconds off the win and I'm not even in the top 10?
Johann Zarco just offering a lift back there.
Well, looks like Andrea Iannoni's run out of gas. It's a very fuel-thirsty circuit here. The Aprilia has always struggled for fuel consumption. Oh, look, actually, he's been on the floor, hasn't he? He's been on the deck. Well, that must have been on the slowdown lap.
Yeah, it must have been. He finished 14th across the line. Well, what are we going to see here? Yeah, he's just gone down on the in lap.
Wait. Maniac by name, maniac by nature. Well, at least he was in the points. Shout out as well, Steve de Hoy, Lorenzo. He's in 13th place, only 14 seconds. So Lorenzo wasn't even losing a second a lap in that race. Brilliant job by him.
I cannot emphasise what a job, by the way. We're going to talk about this Dovizioso Mark thing so much, but that job from Cal Crutchlow, there were not many people this weekend that saw Cal even having the strength to fight for a top 10, let alone a top 5, and then he gets on the podium. And look at the dejection there on the face of poor old Danilo Petrucci.
Blimey, talk about glum. Perplexed Petrucci, puzzled Petrucci. He is not looking very happy at all, is he? There's a man who's just finished the opening Grand Prix, just 2.3 seconds off the win, and he looks like he finished 23 seconds off the win.
Well,
I'll tell you what, Steve, if you showed the last corner of Qatar 2018 and then Qatar 2019, you'd be hard pushed to tell the difference.
I think that the only difference was that time Dovizioso knew he was coming. This time he wasn't so sure.
Claudio Domenicali, top brass at Ducati are here, and their man has done the business yet again. Those fans, what a race they were treated to, and a shout out to that man as well, Fabio Quartararo, starting the race from pit lane. He couldn't quite get himself into the point scoring places. A heroic recovery there into 16th place, a warm embrace between the two main men, Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez. We're going to be talking about this, another famous last lap battle between the two of them for many a year to come. That was pretty tight. That was really tight.
Genuinely, if Dovizioso hadn't last minute seen him, Matt, there was contact there.
Yeah, but he must have known he was coming. This is Marc Marquez. That guy doesn't settle for second place. This is the view looking ahead to Andrea Dovizioso from Marc Marquez. Brilliant work from our production guys with these stunning new graphics.
Great racing once more. Let's look at the face of Marquez as we get across the line. Oh, just missed out. That's what he's saying. He looks round. Dovi's done it again. Brilliant stuff. And Cal Crutchlow, wow.
Well, Cal Crutchlow, 4 months ago, wasn't even sure he'd be riding in this Grand Prix as he looked at a mangled right leg, and here he is on the podium in the first race. And talking about guys who need plaudits galore, well, this man falls firmly into that category. Joan Mir, 8th place and only 5 seconds off the race win. And what he would have learned racing in that lead group with the very best in the world in MotoGP, well, you can't buy that kind of information. Absolutely priceless.
What a day it's been. Do you know, the first and second across all 3 races tonight, Matt, in Qatar, under a 10th of a second covered them. Across, in total.
It's boring, this World Championship racing like, isn't it? Yeah, what a way to kick off 2019. And here he is, the truly heroic Cal Crutchlow, 3rd here in Qatar. He's with Simon.
Huge respect, Carl. Your first race back on the bike after the horrific injury. How do you feel?
To be honest, not to be rude, I feel like I've got a dead bum. Somebody hit me with a foot peg in the left butt cheek, and I can't feel it at the moment. So my ankle's good though. Obviously, a great job by my team. We worked hard this weekend. That's sure. I was glad to be able to fight. I pushed as hard as I could go. I didn't have a great feeling with the rear tyre towards the end of the race, but all credit to my LCR Castrol Honda team. They did a great job, and you know, I have to thank a lot of people. I have to thank my surgeon, Dr. Mateus Russ. my surgeon that looks after me at home, Ross Barker, as well. They've put a lot of effort into getting me back here, as well as the physiotherapist that I had working on me as well. And you know, my whole team, we never gave up. We kept wanting to come back and be able to fight at the front of the championship, and we did so.
Awesome, Carl.
Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely the appropriate word there from Simon Crafer. Awesome. The British fans will go back to Doha tonight incredibly happy, incredibly proud of the work that their man did out there. Cal Crutchlow, as we said 4 months ago, there was even some doubt about whether he would even race again. Such was the severity of that injury in Phillip Island, and here he is in the first race. Well, I guess you could call it back-to-back podiums now for Crutchlow.
Yes. Yeah, because of Motegi, of course, yes. Yeah, great job from Cal. His best ever result in Qatar. What a way to kick off the 2019 season, especially going into Argentina, where Cal will have some rather fond memories.
Yeah, winning the race there last year, of course. He was the first British rider to lead the MotoGP World Championship, I think, since the days of the late, great Barry Sheene. And I think it's fair to say Marc Marquez might have a little bit of a score to settle with Termas based on last year. Here he is, though, the world champion. What a fight. Second in the opening Grand Prix. Here's with Simon.
Well, Mark, you've got to be happy with that, considering it's not one of your better circuits.
Yeah, was exactly like same like last year. I mean, exactly same. I tried to push, but here in the circuit, when you overtake on the dirty place, you just go wide, and then it was so difficult to keep the line. But anyway, I try to be there. I try to push. I try until the end. But very happy with these 20 points, especially because you know, it's a circuit that we struggle. This weekend we were struggling a lot with the front tire. I mean, if you see, I put the medium, and then I was not able to push like I would like in the break points. But okay, I mean, we finished the race. We finished 20 points, and yeah, one race that normally we struggle less from the calendar.
Fantastic job.
Fighting talk from Marc Marquez. Take a look at this, folks. Remember this? This was from last year. Almost the carbon copy. Dovizioso and Marquez, 2018, the last lap, and across the line, almost identical. And this was, what, 15 minutes ago?
Yeah, I feel like a classic case of deja vu here right now. Marc Marquez, he tried it as you knew he would. This is the last lap from about, what, 10 minutes ago. We've just about caught our breath. Carbon copy, absolutely. The race winning margin last year, 0.27 seconds. Marc Marquez got 0.04 of a second closer this year, I guess you could say.
Wow, breathtaking stuff from Qatar. It really has delivered this year across all classes.
Absolutely. What a way to kick off the year in Moto3, Moto2, the new Triumph engine era, and in MotoGP. A classic in Qatar, as we'd hoped. Dovi does the business in Doha. He's in Parc Fermé with Simon.
Wise man Dovi does it again. Tell us how you did it.
I don't know, it was a strange race. I didn't have really that strategy, but in that moment I thought that it was the right strategy. So I was managing the rear tire because everybody is struggling. Also at the end when we push, the tire it was difficult to manage the tire, but overall I'm so happy also because I didn't see nobody, so I couldn't know really my positive and negative point. I stopped every time Rins because his speed in the middle of the corner was amazing. And I saw Marc in the last lap struggling a lot with the rear tire. So it was good for me to understand that. And I pushed really hard in the last lap, but Marc never give up and he's always there. But I was able to answer because I put him really on the limit.
Absolute class.
Yeah, that maybe was the key moment of the race when he made that mistake on the penultimate lap. It let Marc Marquez come through. He got a good look then at Marc Marquez, and he's victorious again here.
Do you know what, Matt? The greatest attribute in Andrea Dovizioso's book is that he knows his strengths so well and he uses them to the maximum. And that is the thing about Dovi.
This is where Marc Marquez is thinking, crikey, not again. Come on, give me a break. That's what it looks like when you come over the finish line. losing a MotoGP race by just 0.02 of a second. Not only, I think, was it the closest top 15 in history, I'll make it the 8th closest podium in Premier Class history, with Cal Crutchlow just 0.3 of a second back. Possibly the 9th closest winning margin. So just records galore smashed again here in Qatar. Argentina, we can't wait to be down there in South America, but it's got an awful lot to live up to after an unbelievable start here in Qatar. Taka Nakagami, a brilliant 9th place for him. That's one of his better races in the dry, certainly the closest he's been in the dry to the race victory. Plenty to ponder, I guess, for Maverick Viñales. Not what he would have anticipated at all. 1st to 7th, and his teammate going the opposite way, 14th to 5th, Valentino Rossi.
So much to talk about. We've got only 15 minutes in after the flag coming up later, Matt. I'm not sure how on earth we're going to try and
we need 15 hours after that one. I mean, yeah, where do you start to try and cover a truly incredible start to 2019? Qatar has usually delivered great racing, and it certainly has done this evening. Cal Crutchlow fans will be happy. Valentino Rossi fans there, they'll be pretty happy as well. If you'd have said before the race that Rossi was going to be so close to the podium and 5th from 14th, then he would have definitely taken that, especially considering how many front tyre issues he had throughout the weekend.
That was brilliant from Rossi. Time and time again, he does this on a Sunday.
Well, yeah, nice to see that the Magic Wand still works anyway.
You know what the good thing about Cal Crutchlow's 3rd is as well? When you come back from such a big injury, Matt, you want to know that you're still there in the game, don't you? He certainly proved that he is there, Cal Crutchlow. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with what you said, Steve. I think if he did get on the podium, which is exactly what he did, it was going to be one of the best podiums of his Grand Prix career. Cal Crutchlow has been to hell and back in the last 4 months. You know, when he initially lay in that hospital bed in Melbourne after that FP2 crash in Australia, he wasn't sure whether he'd ever actually be in this position again, to be fighting with the 2 best men over the recent years in MotoGP. And there he is. Alex Rins couldn't quite make it 5 podiums in a row for Suzuki for the first time since 1993, but this man deserves all the plaudits for denying them. Lucio Cecchinello, a jubilant team boss, and his wife Lucy there. Marc Marquez, 2nd again here in Qatar. Still hasn't been able to find his way to the top step of the podium since 2014, but it is not through the lack of trying. He did absolutely everything he could, but to leave one of his worst circuits of the year, not a great favourite circuit for Honda as well, with 2nd place and 20 crucial points in the bag, that will delight the 26-year-old. But as he did here 1 year ago, he survived the last corner onslaught from Marc Marquez. It's Andrea Dovizioso, the factory Ducati rider, who takes the spoils and the opening silverware of the 2019 season here at the Losail International Circuit. The famous Dovi chant rings out from the Bologna Brigade gathered here in Qatar. Here are the local dignitaries and handing over the hard-earned Constructor Prize to Ducati's Claudio Domenicali. The perfect way to kick off the season for Ducati. 3rd place trophy very, very shortly will be handed over to Cal Crutchlow. The gritty, gutsy rider based on the Isle of Man back in the UK, the 33-year-old Brit. His 17th podium finish in his 139th Grand Prix. Outstanding job by Cal Crutchlow. Marc Marquez, the 26-year-old Spaniard, not the win he wanted, but the podium tally racks up again. 117 podiums now for Marc Marquez, his 78th in his Premier Class career. And he lost out by just a narrow margin of 0.02 of a second. But Qatar and the night race, it's been a night to remember yet again for the 32-year-old Andrea Dovizioso from Forlì in Italy, getting closer to his 300th Grand Prix appearance. In race 295 for Andrea Dovizioso, he takes his 93rd podium, his 13th win in the MotoGP World Championship. He ties on that 13 with Randy Mamola
and Max Biaggi. The picture-perfect start to 2019 for Dovi and Ducati. Could not have imagined a better start to the 2019 MotoGP World Championship than what we've just witnessed. 42 minutes and 36 seconds it took Andrea Dovizioso to win that opening Grand Prix, and every single second of that race will live long, long in the memory. A classic in Qatar. Claudio Domenicali on the podium, sandwiched in between the two Honda riders. Tell you what, Honda will be pretty happy. Not a happy hunting ground, Qatar, for them, and two of their 2019 RC213Vs on the podium.